Hey there, everyone. So, welcome to another review of a pair of barefoot shoes. This is going to be a review of the Lems Outlander in Evergreen. So, as you can tell, I'm based in the UK. There's an awful lot of US based reviews for these, not an awful lot of people kind of really in the UK or outside of the US. So I got hold of a pair of these nearly a year ago now. I think it was around June last year, June 2024. And ultimately, I was looking for what could be considered a barefoot boot, predominantly to wear in the winter. Something I can take out for walks with the kids, going rucking in, doing kind of long walks or hikes by myself. And something really would kind of stand up to most kind of conditions in the UK. So in the UK, it can get very cold, very rainy, very muddy and slippy. And also something that I would kind of feel comfortable wearing out about, maybe in town during the winter as well. So I don't always have to wear smart shoes or smart boots that I own. Just something a kind of casual boot for wearing out and about, or down to the park with the kids, or kind of days out with the kids as well. So a bit of an all-round kind of winter rugged boot. So I've looked at an awful lot. Looked at Vivo Barefoot, obviously, looked at what they had to offer, looked at Lems, looked at Zero shoes. I did own a pair of the Zero hiking boots. So I think they were the Zero Fusion, the waterproof pair. I kept them for a few months, but ultimately I found them a little bit too narrow. So I sized up, and then when I sized up, they felt wide enough. They were then just too long. So I never really felt comfortable walking in them. So I sold those and I moved to the Lems Outlanders instead. And kind of this really is kind of a year on kind of how I found them. So first of all, starting looks wise, I think they look fantastic. It's the thing that drew me to them initially when I first saw them online and I saw a few reviews. They just look really good. They've kind of got, I like this colour in particular. They've got a few other colour patterns, but I like the evergreen, quite a retro kind of 80s-ish look on a boot. Yeah, they look really good with a pair of jeans. They look good with shorts. They look good with kind of cargo trousers. And I do like wearing them kind of casually around town during the winter, kind of on days out with the family. So I think looks wise, I can't complain at all. As I said, I looked at Viva Barefoot shoes and I did like the look of a lot of the Viva Barefoot boots. I personally think these are the best looking kind of winter boot I've seen in what would be considered, or what should be considered, a barefoot boot. And that's kind of one of the main reasons I went for them was the look. So look wise, yeah, no complaints at all. I absolutely love them and I've had a few compliments on them. So sizing wise, I spoke to the kind of online, I spoke to directly to the company and I gave them my foot measurement and they recommended I get a US 10.5, which is approximately a UK 9.5. I would usually get a 9 in nearly everything I own, sometimes a 10. So I thought, okay, a US 10.5, which is approximately UK 9.5, will be okay. In short, I would say they are marginally too long for me, and I mean marginally, which I don't think is too much of a problem. Not like the Zero boot, the Zero Excursion Fusions I got that were just too long. I'd say these are maximum half a centimetre too long, if that. I think it works because if it's going to be really cold weather in the winter and I put on a pair of thick woolly socks or a pair of waterproof socks, then it's fine. They're going to fit absolutely fine. Wearing kind of normal sports socks, normal kind of gym socks that you wear a lot of the time in the winter, they're just I'd say a smidge longer than I'd ideally have, but I think they're fine. So I wouldn't say this is because they're an oversized shoe compared to normal sizings. I went for the 9.5 or the US 10.5. So I think I probably hit about, it's probably about bang on. It's marginally bigger than I'd usually wear, but no real complaints. And if anything, it's probably ideal for when, I'm in that really cold weather and I want to start wearing thicker socks with them. Lugs, so let's move on. Width wise, they're classified as the wide fit. So they have a medium fit beneath that and a widest fit. They're kind of medium fit. I'd probably say, looking at that, that's about right. It doesn't look like it's not a really, really oversized toe box. You look at a lot of shoes from companies, particularly Splay in particular, I've noticed their Splay shoes, their toe box looks quite wide and almost a bit goofy. These don't. They just look like a wide boot. They don't look like a really wide toe box barefoot shoe that stands out and people sometimes pick up on and comment on. it just looks like quite a wide boot. And for me, I haven't got the widest feet by any stretch of the imagination. I am just basically getting very used to wearing barefoot shoes now, so I now need that fit. But for me, I'd say I don't need a really wide toe box. I just need a wide boot. And I think that's what these are. And for that reason, again, I'm really, really happy. I'm not rubbing the sides at all. It's got that kind of anatomical wideness fit to it, a bit like the Vivo Barefoots. It's not just a big chunky front. It's a nice kind of curved arch fit. And for me, that works really, really well. So yeah, fit-wise, and kind of so width of the toe box and width of the overall shoe, I'm really, really happy with. No slippage in the heel. It sits quite nicely in the heel and around the midfoot as well, a little bit wider than normal, but not overly wide. So yeah, it's a wide boot. I wouldn't say it's anywhere near the widest toe box you're going to get in a barefoot shoe, but it doesn't advertise to be that at all. Lug-wise, so there's 4mm lugs on the bottom here, you can see, and then it advertises a 16mm stack. Now, I've read in some reviews, some people there's been variation in that stack width. Either way, I would say this, there's not really any ground feel with these. That is quite a distance between you and the ground, plus the 4mm lugs. So I also have this debate as what does a barefoot shoe mean? How do you define it? You know, people say it's the ground feel, it's the width of the toe box, it's the flexibility of the shoe. It depends on personally how you define a barefoot shoe or a barefoot boot. If it's ground feel, which is your primary thing you're looking for, or the way you define a barefoot boot, these are not for you. There is not much ground feel at all. I've worn regular hiking boots for years. I couldn't really tell any difference, if I'm being brutally honest. What you can do to make it a bit more, you can take the insole out, but that's not a particularly thick insole anyway. It's not going to make an awful lot of difference, just a little bit of difference, and you'll be less warm if you take that out. You'll probably get your feet a little bit colder. So I keep them in because I like the insole being in there. So yeah, it's quite a stack height for what would be called a barefoot boot. Therefore, you might not want to call this a barefoot boot. You might just say it's a wide toe box boot, because that's what it is. It certainly doesn't really have any ground feel that you might associate with, say, Viva Barefoot boots. Some of their boots have got really, really, really small stack heights. Even some of the zero boots and zero shoes as well, really small stack heights. These just don't have it. This is a proper, almost stack height and tread that you would get on any typical boot, be it barefoot or not. When it comes to the lugs, they're pretty good. 4mm. You can see it's a really nice pattern there. An awful lot of tread on there, fairly deep. However, I would say I've tested these in all conditions in the UK. When I've been in really wet, sloppy mud, walking uphill, or not even really uphill, just wet, sloppy mud, of which there's a lot in the UK in the winter, my foot has slipped. And as I'm walking, it's not an easy walk. I can feel my foot moving backwards as I'm going through wet, sloppy mud. So for that reason, if you're looking for a really, really hardcore walking boot that's going to really put those wet, mucky, sloppy conditions, these might not be for you. You might want something a little bit more aggressive. However, again, as I said at the start, I've got these for quite general purpose, for going out for walks in the winter, going into town, playing with my kids down the park, all those different things. So for me, it's absolutely fine. It serves the purpose I need it to. I'm not regularly going on really hardcore hikes in horrible, muddy, sloppy conditions. I'm doing it every now and again. So these do the job and they're okay for that. But if you really want something for really hardcore hiking in really rotting conditions regularly, I'd go for something a little bit more aggressive. Drop-wise, it's advertised as zero drop. Again, I've seen some reviews saying it's not quite zero drop. If I'm being honest, if it's not quite zero drop, I can't notice it. Look at it, it looks pretty much like a zero drop. If it isn't, it's going to be marginally off. And yeah, it's not something I'd really be too concerned about. So again, if what a barefoot shoe is to you means zero drop, I think this is around about there in that category. Weight-wise, it's advertised as 416 grams. I think I've weighed this to be around about that as well. It's got a little bit of mud in it now, however. Heavy, I've got Viva Barefoot trainers, and it's fairly heavy compared to those. You feel it's heavy, but again, that's not what these are. These aren't lightweight barefoot trainers. They're more heavy-duty barefoot, if that's what you want to call them, boots. And certainly having that bigger stack will put that weight onto it. And also there's a lot of material here. There's a lot of, I like because it's durable, but a lot of material that's going to add that weight on. I did notice the weight. The first time I wore these, I put them on and I went for a drive, took my kids out, and I straight away on the pedals of my car, moving my feet up and down, noticed the weight on my ankle that I hadn't noticed, because up to that point I'd been wearing barefoot shoes for months, and you barely notice barefoot shoes when you're driving. Suddenly I put these on, started using my pedals in my car, I thought, oh God, that feels like there's a weight on my foot. So for that reason, if lightweightness is what you think is a barefoot shoe or a boot, again, maybe these aren't for you. But again, it doesn't bother me. There's other things I really, really like about these boots that I'm happy with, in particular, as I already described, kind of the width that fits me absolutely perfectly. So the upper is a nylon and leather. So you've got the nylon material here and around here, and then you've got this leather here. Number one, I think it looks really, really good. Okay. Number two, however, and I'll also mention inside you've got the lining. It's a polyester with a waterproof membrane. So far, I'm finding it waterproof, like no problems at all. I've been a bit sweaty in them, but that's you expect in waterproof walking boots. But waterproofness wise, fantastic. Warmth wise, really, really good. And again, they're comfortable. But the main thing with all these materials, it looks like a sturdy boot that's going to last a long time. I've only had them a year, but I've worn them a lot in a lot of different conditions. And in my opinion, they're holding up fantastically, and they just feel like they're going to carry on holding up. They feel really good quality. The materials feel good, feels well designed. It feels like it's going to hold together for a long time. Obviously, time will tell. There's no splitting around the seams at all anywhere on either of the boots. They both look really, really good. But in my opinion, so far, they come across to me like one of those really good quality pair of boots that are going to last you for years and years, as long as you look after them properly, as long as you clean them, as long as you continue to waterproof the outer as well, which I have been doing. But I think if you look after these, they're going to last really, really, really well and last a long time. I've touched on the waterproofness. As I've said, I've been through a lot of grotty conditions. I've not had any water come through. Gone into puddles, gone into wet, sloppy mud. No water coming through whatsoever. So just to recap my overall kind of be on some of the detail, my overall feelings on these. They are very warm. They're very, very comfortable. I really, really enjoy wearing them. I am slightly conscious that I wear barefoot shoes, like proper, like Viva Barefoot, with zero kind of stack, or very minimal stack all the time, or otherwise I'm literally walking around barefoot. One of the reasons I might find these suddenly so comfortable is because there is quite a stack, and there's quite a nice soft surface to tread on. I might be almost kind of making the most of that luxury, I don't know. But regardless, I do just find them comfortable to wear. They're nice to walk around in, they've got the good tread on them, and they're wide and the materials feel good. So comfort wise, I've walked for miles in these. I've been doing kind of 5-6 mile rucks at a time after dropping my kids off at school, and I'm really, really enjoying walking in. They're comfortable. One thing I did find early on that people have mentioned, in here, on the outer corner on both sides, if I remember correctly, inside it's quite firm, and I don't know what's going on in there, whether there's a seam or something, but for the first few rucks I went on, I was getting rubbing and blisters on the outside of my heels. It took kind of 3-4 walks for it to go, but eventually this gave in, it loosened up. Maybe my heels just got used to it as well, I don't know, but it's stopped now, no problem at all. It did take a few weeks of walking, or a few walks within a few weeks, to stop that blistering occur and just to soften up, because this is firm. That is a really firm, rigid heel. That's not, again, what you get on a lot of barefoot shoes or boots. It's very firm, and you've just got to be aware of that, okay? But again, it's not a criticism. These are walking boots. Sometimes you just have to break them in, so expect that. As I said, I think they look great. I do think they feel a little bit heavy. And I don't think that's that barefoot feel. If that's what you're looking for, that real minimalist feel here, they're not for you. That kind of that feel through the ground. Flexibility wise, again, it's another category for a barefoot boot is flexibility. I'll be honest, yeah, okay, but I've had old caramel walking boots that I've broken in really well, and to be honest, they felt just as flexible. I don't think they're overly flexible. Fairly, maybe just, I don't know. But again, I've got Viva Barefoot shoes here, and I've tried, other variations of barefoot boots. I wouldn't say they're the most flexible. They're quite rigid around the heel. But again, I was looking for a really rugged, multi-purpose, wide boot. So I don't mind that, but it might not be for you if you want that real flexibility. Lacing, this has been mentioned a lot. They're not long enough. They're lovely looking laces and they're thick. They're great. I only lace them up to here. I don't go through the top, because when I go through the top, it's so difficult to pull everything tight. It's really difficult to get tension across here when you're lacing up. I find I leave it at the bottom, which means I can tie it a little bit tighter around here because there's more lacing left and I don't have to faff around with constantly readjusting as I go all the way to the top. I think in a nice pair of jeans it looks a bit more funky because the tongue hangs out a little bit more. So again, I don't mind this, but it is a slight criticism. The laces need to be longer, and whatever the lacing system is in place, I probably need to just vary it up a bit. It's quite hard to get these all tight and secure sometimes. So just to finish off then, I absolutely love these. They look brilliant. They feel really, really rugged, and they feel like they're going to last a long time. They're very comfortable. They're very warm. I've put them through a hell of a lot in the British winter. No problems at all. Waterproofness, bang on. Wide toe box, nice and wide but not overly wide. Wide boot, nice and wide. However, if you're looking for the other characteristics of a barefoot shoe, zero drop, yeah, fine. Ground feel, no. Really high 60mm stack with 4mm tread. Flexibility, I'm putting effort in there, not particularly flexible. Lightweight, again, they don't feel a lot more lightweight than any other walking boot I've ever had. So it just depends what you're looking for. If some of the things I've listed for you are what have got you into barefoot boots and barefoot shoes, and that they're non-negotiables, in particular I think in this case that stack is a non-negotiable, that ground feel, don't get these. If you're willing to compromise because you want a really comfortable wide toe box boot that will pretty much put up with any conditions you can chuck at it, looks good and looks like it's going to last a long time, 100% go for these. They are very cool, they're very impressive, and I'm looking forward to wearing these for a number of years. So that was kind of my review on the Lems Outlander in Evergreen. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was useful, and if you've got any questions, just let me know.